Hi, Chamber President CEO Jeff Ray here, continuing our candidate interviews today. Today we're sitting down with Lana Cleary. Lana is a candidate for St. Joseph County Clerk. Lana, welcome. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Jeff.
Yeah, so Lana, we've been doing these interviews where we get a chance to sit down with candidates and get to know them a little bit better. So we appreciate you carving some time out this afternoon to do that. So, help us to start. So if somebody doesn't know Lana Cleary, tell us a little bit about who Lana Cleary is.
Well, Jeff, I am a lifelong resident of St. Joseph County. I was born and raised over on the southeast side of South Bend, and I attended St. Matthew's and Marion, and I ultimately graduated from Riley High School. I have been with the clerk's office for over 20 years. Prior to that, I had worked for a technology company, a brief stint at Quality Dining, and also Fuller O'Brien Paint, always in the accounting or administrative side of things. And I came under the Linda Scopolitas hired me back 20 some years ago, and I'd never been in county government before, but I found it very fascinating. I am divorced with no children. I still live here in the community. I live in Granger, and I love to golf, and I love the Chicago Cubs.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you, Lana. Appreciate the chance to get to know you a little bit. So let's talk a little about, you've been in the clerk's office for about 20 years. You mentioned, during your intro there. And now you've made the decision to run for county clerk. Tell us a little bit about the inspiration for running for office.
Jeff, I've always loved the clerk's office, and with our current county clerk retiring, I felt it was my time to step up, and run for the office. I love this office so much. It plays such a valuable part in our community, and it touches a lot of aspects of lives in the community. And I love serving the public, and I love serving the judicial process, and I love serving the election process. So it seemed almost like a natural choice for me to go ahead and run.
Great. So, Lana, let's dive a little bit deeper, because I think, when it comes to people's ballots, some of the other positions on the ballot get a lot more attention than others. People are paying attention to, kind of bigger races. And this year in particular, they'll be watching for U.S. Senate and Congress and all those kind of things. But some of the local offices are really critical, including the clerk's position. So having been there and understanding a little bit, for folks who don't know why the clerk's office is important or why it should matter to them, talk a little bit about the responsibilities of the office.
Absolutely. The clerk, Jeff's primary two functions are elections and judicial processes. And these, to me, are two very important government functions. The judicial side, the clerk is the record keeper of the court for both criminal and civil matters, everything from the filing of a case to every document that is filed. It is the clerk's duty, for the judicial side, to keep record of it. They also issue marriage licenses, take in child support, fines, fees, bonds. And on the election side, they run the elections, everything from the filing of a candidate all the way to the certification of the election. They work in conjunction with both parties, with the election board, to carry out all city, county, and presidential elections in St. Joseph County. So, it's a lot. And it does, to me, touch a lot of everyday life. So.
Great. Lana, talk to us a little bit about, so obviously it's a big task that covers a lot of different spots. Just tell us a little bit about even like the office. So my guess is the county clerk is kind of the management of the overall, operation. How many people work there? Where are they at? Just some of the logistic piece of some of that.
Sure. There's approximately 55 employees under the clerk, and they're in both South Bend and Mishawaka. In the courthouse in Mishawaka, there's 3 buildings in the South Bend complex that suit the civil and the criminal side of it. There's also a protective order clerk over at the Family Justice Center. So there are clerks that are in circuit court, superior court. That includes like small claims, traffic, and misdemeanor. We have a mental health clerk, a jury administrator, child support clerks that take in child support, but we don't enforce it. That's up to the courts or the prosecutor. Marriage license. So it's a huge operation.
Yeah. So Lana, you mentioned you've been there for a few years. What are some of the specific roles or functions that you've played in the clerk's office during your time there?
Sure. I've pretty much been, since day one, in the administrative and leadership roles. I've managed budgets, personnel, and vendors. I've been a liaison for the clerk's office between the judicial side and the clerk's office, and also many county offices. I've worked, in countless elections. I'm not the election clerk, but in every process of it, from purchasing supplies for the elections to working on election day and prior, with, the ballots, or, in bipartisanship for the elections. So I've done a lot of that, child support, reconciliation, a little on the bookkeeping side.
Great.
Um,
Okay, good. No,
uh,
that sounds good. So
mhm.
Lana, now as you're seeking office and you're thinking about what a clerk's office would look like under Lana's leadership, talk about things that would be priorities to you should you get elected to this position.
Sure. I think still is to continue the integrity of the elections and how they're run, and working on both sides with both parties to continue carrying out those duties. Also, over the last many, many years, we've upgraded a lot of our technology with new computer programs and things like we've gone to e-filing on the judicial side, and scanning of records, which is very, very important because I feel like it makes information more and more accessible to the public, to the judicial staff, to everybody. And so that is very, very important to me, to continue striving for that technology to continue going, and unless it's confidential, for it to be accessible. And one of the things I like is we have like an online um, app now to order marriage licenses or court documents such as divorce decrees or judgments. And before, in the old days, you'd have to come in and order them, and we'd have to order the files. And a lot of more of those are digitized these days. And I want to continue forward with that, and also continue forward with upgrading equipment as needed in both the judicial side and the election side, working in conjunction with the election board. Because when I started, I'll tell you briefly, voting machines were the old levered ones where you pull back the curtain, and then you had to manually, election night, we would have bipartisan teams that would enter in those results, as opposed to how quickly they're done now. And on the judicial side, typewriters were prevalent when I started. So I think what I've been watching happening, which is spectacular, is the accessibility of more information in a more timely manner. And to me, that's very important.
Great. Lana, you mentioned just the operation of the office, the 50 plus or around 50 employees or so that works there, but you've also touched on the election piece of this. It seems that that's a pretty monumental task too, with lots of additional employees or volunteers. Can you give us a feel for just the additional people involved in that larger process, if you will, in the election? So again, managing that overall process, part of the clerk's
Absolutely.
responsibilities.
Well, absolutely. And during election season, the clerk, the parties recruit like the absentee workers, the central count workers, and the poll workers. But during election season, the absentee workers fall under the clerk's um, payroll and guidance. So, and that's actually something I've experienced in, which is during election season, I'm putting on more people because I do the payroll side too, putting all these employees on and managing them in conjunction with that. And in conjunction with that, we also have vote center or vote machine technicians and central count. And central count is actually something that's a little newer, which is the early ballots and the vote by mail ballots are done in a bipartisan manner on election morning in the county city building under the direction of the election board. So there are a lot more personnel to manage during that time.
Great. No, it's obviously a pretty
And
important
I've
task
already
for.
actually, not to interrupt, I was saying, I've actually dealt a lot directly with that under the direction of the clerk. So yeah.
Great. Good. Lana, anything on the horizon, as we look into the future and stuff, and as you're working to, become more digital and kind of transform the office, what challenge or limitations, anything that we should be worried about over the next, not worried about necessarily, but things in the next couple years that might be challenging that we as a county are going to have to address?
I think one of the biggest challenges always seems to be we have a pretty tight workforce, but I always struggle sometimes with finding workers as ones retire or leave for other jobs, and maintaining that. I mean, the council has done a pretty good job at kind of helping us keep up with the consistency of the salary, but sometimes I feel like that could be a concern, because I feel like it's a concern overall, across America. But I haven't had to experience too much of that in the hiring process. But sometimes I do feel like it's going to be a concern and keeping up maybe with the inflation, with the
Yep.
rate of pay and that. I mean, that's something that kind of sticks in my mind.
Yeah, certainly a concern of all of our members as well who are going through the same thing in their own
Yeah.
workforces. So no, I appreciate you identifying that. So Lana, as we wrap up here, so folks are going to head to the ballot box here in the next couple weeks, and or even now as they're voting
Exactly.
early, and they're going to make the important decision on who they should select as city clerk. Tell us a little bit about why they should select Lana Cleary as the next clerk.
Well, they should select me actually as the next county clerk,
Next county clerk, I'm
because
sorry. Yes.
my first and foremost, my knowledge and experience of the office is, I believe, paramount. And I believe this job entails somebody having a lot of experience and knowledge running this office, because there are so many parts to this office. Also, my love and drive for this office and to see it continue down the path it is. The moment I walked in the door 23 years ago, I didn't say I was going to become the next county clerk, but I've always felt it's, something that has meant a lot to me. And I just want to continue to serve the citizens of St. Joseph County, but in the top job as county clerk, and to continue it forward, into the future, and serving this community that I love so much.
Great. She's Lana Cleary. She is a candidate for St. Joseph County Clerk. Lana, thank you for joining us this afternoon to help us get to know you a little better.
Thank you very much, Jeff.